getting annoyed with God, because I was like, I've done my mission, send me back to my yard, meaning take me back to Jamaica. I had no desire to go to Trinidad again. I was wondering, like, what's the purpose of this one day layover in Trinidad?
And he carried the guests to the room, but he did something that he never did before.
Close the door and bolt my door, because now it kind of dawned on me like, wait, where are you?
JP, better wake up.
Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So for those who are new here, I want to welcome you to the family. This is a safe space, and this is where my husband and I are sharing our life's journey. And starting with me, I'm Olivia Lovell, and subscribe to us to learn more about where God has taken us from and why we're here in this particular season. And we hope that our journey, our testimony blesses you. I'm ready to get right into it, so let's go. Now we are at January 2019. New year, new thing. I'm not sure if I told you guys before, but I decided with Sidian that I was going to go on the 21-day Daniel fast. And in December 2018, I was on an unplanned, unintentional fast. Like, I could feel my spirit fasting, my flesh fasting. I had no desire for food. I was just really into the word, and I was getting downloads and instructions, and I was being obedient. Here we are, starting the Daniel fast. So my sister decided that she was going to, she got into school, medical school in Grenada, and she was going to make that transition. Both our parents are overseas, and so it was my responsibility to ensure that she arrived safely. This was our first time traveling. I'm a frequent traveler, and so I wanted to make that seamless as possible, especially with the layover that she may have and the different stops. Let me tell you a little backstory about Olivia, and this is what I understood in this season about myself, that God will tell me to do something and I just do it. So I really am that person. I always just run towards the cliff, jump off because himself a jump, and mid-air I'm like, yeah, help. There's so many of those stories I could tell, but this was one of those jumps. And so I went to Grenada. I honestly felt like I was on a mission. So, you know, when people go on trip, them kind of titivate up, like their nails done, hair done, everything. And quote unquote, this was supposed to be my vacation. Not happening. So this was like 3 weeks or 2 weeks into January now, doing the Daniel fast, doing it diligently, working, putting my vacation time. They didn't approve it, but I still took the days. Yeah, that's me. If God said go, I am going, man, like it or not. So I went on this journey. In my spirit, I felt like I was on a mission. Honestly, I've done missions before, and I just really felt like this was something that I needed to do at the time. But best believe I met the right people at the right time, and God was moving. The things that I said, the things that I did were all in alignment with God. And I remember even one of my friends, the person I engaged while I was there, he said to me, Olivia, you know, you're very spiritual. Like everything referred to the spirit to me. I never seen nothing in the flesh. And mind you, I was fasting, and I was fasting and praying about certain things, right? Because I was in a desperate place of wanting more of God, so that I'm not consumed with wanting a husband.
I was tired of getting a lot of hurt from these relationships, and I didn't want to have any more hurt when I'm in a relationship. I was tired of being hurt, so I began seeking God, and I let go of seeking someone, and I start seeking God. And by seeking God, I decided that I will go on a fast. So I went on this fast because I wanted to be closer to God, and finding the right person.
Grenada was a mission. I went there on mission and purpose, and I fulfilled it. Now, this came to the ending of my fast. This is January 21. And I remember being in the apartment on the phone with my mentor, and I had nowhere in Trinidad where I had a 23-hour layover to stay. And I was getting anxious. And so I called my sister and asked her to help. And she said, okay, I can help. And she sent me an Airbnb. I think I can put it right here. And then, but what was interesting about this Airbnb is that normally when you book your Airbnb, you don't normally get an immediate response from the host. It normally takes a few hours, and I knew that I booked past 12 o'clock. So it was like, I'm coming in a few hours, and I wasn't worried or expecting to hear back from the host. Nevertheless, I got a response, and he shoot me his number, and we started talking on WhatsApp, and we were just communicating. He was asking about my plans, my arrival time. This was my first time in Trinidad, which was yes. And a part of me, before even the conversation with the Airbnb host, I was getting annoyed with God, because I was like, I've done my mission, send me back to my yard, meaning take me back to Jamaica. I had no desire to go to Trinidad again. I was wondering, what's the purpose of this one day layover in Trinidad? Actually, I was physically exhausted too, because this fast was intense, and I just couldn't be bothered. I wanted to just go on a flight, sleep, and reach back to Jamaica. And I was praying God, please just take me back home. Anyways, he had other plans, and so I boarded the flight in the morning. And I landed in Trinidad.
So while working at this hotel, while I was in the reception room, my boss brought someone. I did not see the guest, but I knew that he brought someone because he communicated with me before, letting me know that he was bringing someone from the airport.
By the time I breathed my day at Trinidad, it was a short flight.
And he carried the guest to the room, but he did something that he never did before. And I feel like it was the Holy Spirit. I feel like it was God that led him to do this, because honestly, with all the guests that we have ever dealt with, he have never done this.
The Airbnb host actually picked me up. He said he was gonna send a driver, but he came. Told him I wanted some veggie roti because I was just coming off the fast. He drove around, got me some nice roti, and then we went to the Airbnb, and he brought me to the room. And it was just a very wonderful experience.
And he carried the guest to the room, but he did something that he never did before. Normally, if he's there, if he brings a guest, he will deal with the guest and check them in and make sure they are alright, and I wouldn't have to do anything once he's there. But this time, he came and he called me and he carried me to the room, and he introduced me to this guest, and we waved at each other, and I went back downstairs to my work.
And closed the door and bolt my door, because now it kind of dawned on me wait, where are you? When I think about it, it's really, I don't know. I was not using my brain at all. I was just using my spirit, and now I'm in this place that I don't know, and it's very out of place, not that close to anywhere. You have to walk a good distance to really see things. And so it was and it's like a motel style room, so I was like, oh God.
After the boss finished whatever he was doing around the hotel, he left.
No, I was tired, as I said before. Oh, before he left, he had come back, brought me to the road to get the doubles, and then we came to the room, and that's when he introduced the other person to me, because he was now officially leaving and wanted me to know that this person will take care of me if there's anything that I need.
And a few hours later, he called me.
I was ready now to bathe off everything and go lie down, because your girl got an early morning flight.
And he said, there's a problem in the bathroom. and she needs help.
And so I called so I said, the water is not going down, and he said, no problem, I will send the person to assist you.
So immediately I took up the tools and I went upstairs to fix the problem, and I entered the room and I saw her. She was in a towel at the time and she was sitting on the bed, but she was in a towel just waiting for me to fix the bathroom so that she can go and bathe.
Okay, now girl was ready to shower. Not that I had on any clothes except my towel. So I was actually ready to step in the shower. So when he said he was gonna send the person, I had no time to put myself together, and so I had on only a towel.
And while I was fixing the problem, I heard her listening some sermons on the television, and I said, okay, interesting.
I was still listening to the word on the television and stuff. That was some TD Jakes series. I was still on my phone, ministering. Click, 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 click.
After I finished fixing the problem in the bathroom, I came out and I went to her and I said,
when this gentleman was leaving, he turned around at the door and he said, may I ask you a question? And I said, sure.
I asked her, are you a Christian? And she said,
no. This is where I put down my phone and I'm ready for a conversation, because your girl been on a mission and she's ready for another mission. I'm just joking, but I love to talk about God, if you know me, and so I was ready. He said to me, are you a Christian? And I was like, I don't like that name, but I'm a believer of Jesus Christ. Call me a follower of Jesus Christ. And he was like, okay, why? And I started explaining why I made that separation. And you know, he said, well, I asked because of what you're listening to.
And with her saying that, it led us to having deeper conversation about God, and we began having long conversation talking about God until a guest came and I had to deal with the guest. But it was going so nice that we said, okay, let's exchange numbers, and we exchanged numbers, and I went and deal with the guest downstairs. And after dealing with the guest, I just felt in my spirit that I should message her and ask her if she wants to continue this conversation. And so I messaged her and she said, sure, but when you are coming, can you bring an iron for me, please?
After I showered, I got another message like probably an hour later, to ask if I was interested in continuing the conversation. I was like, all right, by all means, I'm gonna get ready now. And he had asked if I wanted to come down. I was like, sure. But then I said, since the time, it was about 8 going on, probably 9 going on 10, I said, since it's so late, could you take the iron to me? I will just prepare my clothes for tomorrow, because I don't know when this conversation will end.
I took up the iron and I went upstairs immediately. And when I went to the room, we began talking more about, this time we talked more about ourselves and our story and our life's journey. And to be honest, she's the first person that I actually ever sit down and share my story with, almost my whole life story, because she has this personality that could just draw it out of you, like just make you open up and be free to share about yourself. And
while I was speaking, he kept saying, I could feel his energy, like there was something more that he wanted to say, but he was like holding it back. And he kept saying like, oh, I will tell my story when this happens, and I will tell my story when that happens. And I was like, no, you should open your mouth and speak now. You have a story now.
And she even made me feel so comfortable. I remember she put a pillow at her feet, but this time she had already bathed and everything, so she was out of her towel and in her clothes and stuff. And so she made me feel really comfortable. But guys, this was something that was crazy. When I look back at it, it was so crazy that I actually laid on the guest bed and not thinking that I could have lost my job. Like, I don't know her. She could have set me up. I could have set her up because she don't know who I am either. I could have raped her. We didn't know each other, but in that moment, I feel like the Holy Spirit was just moving, and because of that, we wasn't even conscious of being scared of me losing my job or anything happening. It was just the Holy Spirit flowing and moving, and it was just beyond our control. Like, we wasn't even thinking or feeling guilty of anything.
All I knew is that this gentleman that stood in front of me, I invited him in. I was fully clothed and I gave him some pillows on my bed. So I said, you could sit at the bottom, you could sit down there, I will sit up at the top. Guys, do not do this, okay? I was being led by the Spirit. Told you before, I'm very obedient. I still had no feelings, no thoughts of feelings or emotions for this gentleman. That was not the objective. The objective was for us to have good conversation like what we were having before about our faith, our life's journey, you know, just what related to us. We were just having good conversation. And at this point, he laid down. We were just talking, like him catch up on the bed, and we the one side, and we're talking, we're vibing. And while he spoke, from my end, I was able to envision it. So it's not like he was giving much description, but I could see what he was talking about. And one particular point stood out when he was mentioning something about a ball. And I said, oh, it was on top of a hill and it rolled down, like the ball was rolling towards you. And he was like, girl, who are you? So I'm like, nothing. He's like, wow, how could you know this? And I was like, I don't know. So while he continued to talk, I could finish his sentences. I really understood clearly what he was saying, and his story was really impacting me. I really understood what he was saying. Anyways, remember the roti I told you guys about earlier? The roti. We're hungry now, guys. This is 10 and now it's 3 o'clock.
And so we've been having the conversation for a while, so she began feeling hungry. So she wanted to go and hot up the food.
So we exited the room and he went before me. And while as I closed the door and I turned to look at him, so we're going down the pathway, I felt in my spirit where the Holy Spirit told me, that's your husband. No!
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
What do you mean, my husband? I don't like him. I don't know him. He don't know me. What husband? Where? What are you talking about? No, man. Remember that I just heard his life story. And you guys would have heard his life story. Husband where? That not add up. No, there's no, what do you mean? This was me and God, like, no. First and foremost, this man loves football. From I was at primary school, the first, like after preschool, basic school, then you have primary school, which is probably like your middle school or your elementary school. No. Two boys that play football as husbands. They could be boyfriends, but not husbands. I don't want you. God, what are you doing? Plus, their toes are ugly. They kick ball every day with them ugly toes. I don't want that. I want a nice toe guy. I was battling these thoughts. I really could not understand what God was doing in this moment.
And while the food was hotting, we sat opposite each other behind a table, and when I was finishing my story, when I almost finished, she began crying.
He was basically through with telling me his story, and I remember I sat down to eat, started eating, and he was finishing his story, and tears was in my eyes, tears was in his eyes. I was crying because of what I knew I was talking about God, and also more tears were coming because of his story. And then he left the room, and I was like, okay, perhaps he's crying or he went for something.
I also felt like crying, but I didn't want her to see me crying, so I got up and I left. And when I left the room, I felt like a soft voice just say to me, "That's your wife." And immediately I went back to the room.
The man came back in and he was like, "So Olivia, you're an angel. So please tell me what I'm thinking." I know what you're thinking, sir, and I'm not gonna say it because it's enough for me. It's enough for me. I don't want no footballer, no for me.
And I sat down and I asked her, I said, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And I remember her saying, "No." And I was like, "Yes." And she was like, "No."
And he kept pursuing me to tell him what he was thinking. I don't know why this man feel like I have some superpower and I can read his mind, but it's a no for me.
And I was like, "Yes." And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Yes, you are my wife."
Guys, let me just tell you something. During all of our conversations, there was never any conversation about, "I like you, you look nice." Nothing. Zero, nilch.
And she broke down again, and I also started crying also, and we both were crying. And after we finished crying, we held hands and we prayed to God about it. And in that moment, it was like a relief. Like we felt so connected, because even when I was in the room, when she was in a towel, I never felt no kind of affection, no kind of feelings towards her.
So how did this come about? How did this come about? Where did this thought of husband and whatever he's thinking came about? Guys, I sat at the table eating my roti, could not finish the roti, bawling, head down, saying, "God, this man toe was ugly, I cannot do this, da 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 da." And the Holy Spirit said, "Look at his toes." Guys, you would not believe. Pause. Do you remember when I told you that when they popped down? Yes, when they real pop down. And my toes, the chaka, when the nail really want to get a chip off, they actually even have a chip toenail. White nail polish, so it's very evident that they need to get done. And so I looked at his toes. Obedient Olivia looked at his toes, and they were better looking than mine.
Guys, I hope that this was impactful. I hope that this will inspire you to walk by faith and not by sight.
And remember to like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to be a part of our faith community, because we are the Faith Family.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.